Three letters. BMW. Today, they suggest speed, precision, and a very particular kind of German confidence. But here's the strange part. BMW did not begin with cars. It began above the clouds. The short answer to the name is Bayerische Motoren Werke, Bavarian Motor Works. Accurate? Yes. Interesting? Not yet. Because behind those three letters is a story involving unreliable aircraft engines, a logo that almost everyone misunderstands, a tiny British car, a near takeover by Mercedes, and one family saloon that may have saved the entire company. So this is not really a story about what BMW stands for. It is a story about how a manufacturer repeatedly lost the product that defined it, and somehow kept its identity. Start with the B, Bavaria. Munich, in the early 20th century, was becoming a center for a new and dangerous industry, aviation. Karl Rapp built engines. Gustav Otto built airplanes. Then war arrived, demand exploded, and Rapp's engines began to fail. They vibrated. They were unreliable, and the company was running out of time. Then an engineer named Max Friz drew an engine that worked where the others struggled, high in the thin air. In July 1917, Rapp Motoren Werke received a new name, Bayerische Motoren Werke. BMW was born, not as a car maker, but as an engine maker with its eyes fixed firmly on the sky. And then there is the logo. The black ring and the letters followed the shape of Rapp's earlier emblem. The blue and white center represented the colors of Bavaria. So what about the famous spinning propeller? That interpretation came later. In a 1929 advertisement, BMW placed its badge inside a rotating aircraft propeller. The image was so convincing that repetition turned it into accepted history. The badge certainly belongs to a company born in aviation. But the propeller was a brilliant later interpretation, not the original design. So the B is the place. The M is Motoren, engines. And the W is Werke, works or factories. The name described exactly what the company was. Then Germany lost the First World War, aircraft engine production was restricted, and BMW suddenly lost the product at the center of its existence. It tried industrial engines, boat engines, and railway brakes. Ownership, employees, the badge, and the engine business moved between companies. In 1922, the BMW name and engine operation were transferred to Bayerische Flugzeugwerke. That is why BMW now treats the 7th of March 1916 as its official birthday, even though the name BMW appeared in 1917. That sounds like corporate bookkeeping. It is actually the key to the story. BMW has never been one uninterrupted line of products. It has been an identity repeatedly transferred into a new kind of machine. The first successful new machine had two wheels. The BMW R32 appeared in 1923 with a horizontally opposed boxer engine and shaft drive, a mechanical layout still recognizable in BMW motorcycles today. Cars came next, but not through a clean sheet of Bavarian engineering. BMW took a shortcut. In 1928, it bought a car factory in Eisenach. The factory built the Dixie 315s, based on the British Austin 7. So the first car to carry the BMW name was, in practice, a British design built under license. Not quite the pure German driving machine the advertising would later suggest. But BMW quickly began to create its own visual and mechanical language. The 303 introduced the divided kidney grille in 1933. 3 years later, the lightweight BMW 328 sports car began winning major races. Its formula now sounds unmistakably familiar. Low weight, a straight-six engine, and a chassis designed to make the driver part of the experience. Then the Second World War returned BMW to aircraft engines and military production. The company profited from Nazi rearmament and used forced laborers and concentration camp prisoners. This is not an uncomfortable footnote that can be edited out. It is part of BMW's history and part of the wider responsibility of German industry during the war. When the war ended, BMW was physically and economically broken. Munich had been heavily bombed. The car factory in Eisenach was now inside the Soviet occupation zone. In Munich, the company produced pots, kitchen equipment, bicycles, and eventually motorcycles simply to survive. When BMW returned to cars, it aimed high. The elegant 501 was impressive, but painfully expensive to manufacture. At the opposite extreme came the Isetta, the tiny bubble car with a front opening door. It sold in useful numbers, but it could not repair the company's finances. BMW was trapped between luxury cars that cost too much and microcars that earned too little. By 1959, the situation was so desperate that a sale to Daimler-Benz was placed before shareholders. Think about that for a moment. BMW could have disappeared into Mercedes. No modern 3 Series. No M3. Perhaps no BMW as we understand it today. Dealers, employees, and smaller shareholders resisted the plan. Industrialist Herbert Quant saw potential, invested heavily, and gave BMW the time to develop one more car. It would have to create a market the company could actually own. That car appeared in 1961. The BMW 1500, the beginning of the new E-Class, the new class. It was a spacious family saloon, but it had a lively engine, accurate steering, and rear-wheel drive. It was neither a heavy luxury car nor a cheap microcar. It occupied the space between them, practical enough for Monday morning, engaging enough for the road home. This is where the modern idea of BMW becomes visible. Not maximum speed, not maximum luxury. The essential promise was response, the feeling that the machine was listening to the driver. The design reinforced that idea. The kidney grille was already established. The new class added the distinctive bend at the base of the rear pillar, later known as the Hofmeister kink. Then the smaller two-door BMW 2002 sharpened the formula. Compact body, strong engine at the front, driven wheels at the rear, and a balance that could turn an ordinary journey into something worth anticipating. From the mid-1960s, BMW increasingly used the phrase Freude am Fahren, the joy of driving. In English, it became sheer driving pleasure. It is an unusual promise because it does not describe the car. It describes what should happen inside the person driving it. BMW Motorsport was established in 1972. The first 3 Series arrived in 1975. Then came the M1, M3, and M5. The straight-six engine, rear-wheel drive, driver-angled dashboard, and near-even weight distribution were no longer merely engineering decisions. They became rituals, signals enthusiasts expected because they said, without explanation, this is a BMW. And that creates the modern problem. What happens when those rituals change? A BMW can now have four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or electric motors. The kidney grille can be enormous or almost completely closed. Software becomes louder in the experience while the engine becomes quieter. If the M in BMW means engines, is BMW still BMW when the petrol engine disappears? Literally, yes. An electric motor is still a motor. But that answer avoids the real question. BMW's identity was never simply the fuel, the number of cylinders, or which wheels received power. Those were methods. The purpose was the connection between human and machine. That is BMW's hardest challenge. The company can change its engine, its design, and its technology. It has done so repeatedly for more than a century. But if the car stops feeling responsive and engaging, the 3 letters become just 3 letters. B stands for Bavaria, the place and the identity. M stands for the engines, the engineering that has continually changed form. W stands for the works, the ability to turn an idea into a machine. And the essence of BMW is the attempt to combine all 3 in one feeling, Freude am Fahren. BMW began in the air, survived on 2 wheels, learned to build cars through a British design, came within a shareholder vote of being absorbed by its greatest rival, and finally discovered its identity in a family saloon. So the next time you see the blue and white badge, you are not simply looking at a propeller. You are looking at a piece of Bavaria, more than a century of reinvention, and a promise